On this episode, we discuss Orphan, First Kill.
That's right, we're kicking Shocktober off in Styles. Julia Styles.
I don't think we can get any better than that.
No, that was perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
It's what we in the biz call a hot one.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
And I'm Stuart Wellington.
And I'm Elliot Kalin.
And I'm Hallie Hagland.
Hallie. But I killed you.
Oh,
Oh no, that was Sally Hagland. I'm sorry, Sally Hagland.
Oh, that bitch. I'm glad she's gone.
Oh yeah. Hey everybody, Shocktober starting with a bang. A Hallie Hagland bang, that is.
what?
It's okay.
It's cool. Don't worry. It's cool.
Okay, anyway.
What? It's not. Was the idea of a Hallie Hagland bang not the best way to start it?
Anyway, so this is a podcast where...
Okay, how about this?
Okay, he's going to save it.
Hold on, I'm gonna say it. Hold on. That's right. We're no, that's worse. Hold on. You know what, Dan? Just keep going.
Yeah, I was trying to, but say, listener, if you
It's brand spanking new Shocktober with a brand spanking Hallie. Right? Is that
no.
I mean, slightly, I guess.
So yeah. If you're stumbling onto this podcast for the first time, first off, sorry for leaving it out where you could trip over it. But number two, this is a podcast where normally
that was the thinker? That was good. That took me a moment. It was the thinker.
Yeah, it's
normally we watch a bad movie and then we talk about it. And in Shocktober, the month we are in, we watch horror movies. Now this one actually, we had an inkling. We'll see how we all came down on it. We had an inkling that this one maybe we'd kind of like.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
We had an inkling this might not be a stinklin like normal. Mainly because Stuart had seen the movie already and wanted to watch it again.
And said, it's good.
It said it's good. We should watch that.
Yeah, but you know that's Stuart's opinion.
Are my
we'll see
bros
what the
going to
rest
make
of
me
us
feel
has to
bad by
say.
not liking my new favorite movie? We'll find out.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah,
Hallie's on my side.
That's a suspense. Now, Hallie, I think you were given a list of movies, and this is the one you chose. Is that true?
Yeah.
What was it about the title Orphan, First Kill that really caught your eye?
It was that Dan wrote next to it. This one is actually kind of good.
Okay.
Or well, yeah. I mean, I hadn't seen it, but I knew that the reviews sort of indicated like, oh, maybe this one's okay. You know?
I did watch all the trailers, and it called out to me most.
You did your due diligence.
Yes.
And now last year you joined us for, I think it was The Turning, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was or what was that one called? The one that was based on The Turning of the Screw?
Yeah, I think it was The Turning.
Yeah,
It's either that or the screwing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
probably not
And-
that.
And that was kind of
banging?
that was kind of a snooze fest.
Sorry,
The screwing of the turn.
yeah.
That's about having sex with a bird. It's turned TERN.
Oh wow.
No, cool. Well,
Yeah,
John living
so
for Seagull.
what have we done? Let's recap.
Jonathan Livingston's sex skull.
Oh, wow.
Let's recap what's happened so far. So we've introduced Hallie, and we've introduced what the podcast is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've
and the movie that we
introduced
watched.
What
This
movie
is the
we
most
watched.
efficient opening
Yeah,
we've ever had.
We're actually doing really good.
Yeah, this is great. So should we get into Orphan First Kill? First, before we get into it, I want to say two things.
Yeah.
One, it does not actually show her first kill. The
No.
movie starts with her
Why
already a
is it
dangerous
called-
mental patient.
Why is it called First Kill?
And two, I never saw the first Orphan movie. Stuart, would you be able to fill us in on what happens in the first Orphan movie?
Yeah, so a couple with two kids who wants another kid, played by Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard. Thank
Those are the
you.
kids?
No, I mean they were kids once, but at this point in the movie, the story, they're
I see.
both
Full-grown
adults.
I see, but if
adults
they-
of
They're a
adopting
married
children
couple.
age.
They're not unstuck in time and reliving all their moments at once. I see.
So they are a couple that is going through some extreme marriage problems, but they decide, hey, you know what?
Too
It's
much
time-
Mountain Dew.
Yep. That's not a problem, Elliot. That's a solution.
They drank it like Peter Sarsgaard was drinking it in bed all the time.
He was.
I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
someone who drank so much Mountain Dew they got thrush.
They got what?
Thrush.
What's thrush?
It's
It's like something in your throat. That's
a mouth disease of some kind.
Oh.
But
I mean,
know.
this
Does that
person.
happen in this movie?
Is that what that song is about? Oh, thrush.
No.
Keep it down now.
Oh.
Your throat's hurt.
I thought you were
No,
going to
it's
do
thrush,
It's
thrush,
just
hurry, hurry.
a little thrush.
Oh yeah, there's that one too. And of course
Yeah.
the band Thrush. Today's Tom Sawyer drinks too much Mountain Dew. That one, yeah.
Wow. I love the idea that Elliot is comparing his own beautiful voice to Geddy Lee's beautiful voice right there. So they're a couple and they decide to adopt a third child. And so they adopt Hester or Esther.
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 Who is this
Esther
this,
Prynne.
who's this weird little girl who dresses like an old-timey girl. And she
Like
has
if
some
like
issues.
if so she might have like say a ribbon around her neck that if you
A
undid
ribbon
it,
choker, yeah.
And later on, like we find out why she's wearing it. It's not because her head will fall off and she's a ghost. Although every
story.
time I see the ribbon
Yeah.
and she resists them taking the ribbon off, I'm like, is it because she's a ghost? Even though I know she isn't. So they, she starts causing problems. Kids
Wait,
pick
why
on her.
is it? Why is it?
Oh, she has a ribbon around her neck because when she was in her various mental institutes, she would fight against the restraints and she got scars.
Yeah, and that's why she wears her around her wrists too, right?
Yeah, okay,
to
yeah,
cover
yeah,
those
yeah.
scars.
Yep.
Much like how in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Mina wears a scarf around her neck to cover where Dracula sawed away at her throat with his vampire bat teeth. Yeah.
But Dracula got nowhere near Esther. So Esther, long story short,
Until the third movie, Orphan, Dracula's adoptee. And Dracula's like, I'm getting to that age. I'm hundreds of years old. I want to have a child. Adopts Esther.
so Esther doesn't quite get along with her adopted siblings. The older brother is both a bully and a coward. Pretty common combo, actually.
Wow.
Two sides of the same coin. Yeah.
Yep. And but she gets along with the younger sister. But it turns out there's more to her than we believe. She's romantically in love with the father, which makes sense because it is Peter Sarsgaard. But he is a dummy and does not pay any attention. Vera Farmiga immediately suspects Hester's up to no good. And so does the adoption agent played by
I think we don't need. Why don't we
Yeah,
need to
this
go
is
into
a
this
lot
much
of
detail? I
detail.
think maybe just tell us the reveal about Esther,
think-
and then we can get into the new movie.
So wait,
don't know.
I thought you told me I could tell you the
no,
entire
no.
plot of the movie. So the big reveal is that Esther is not Esther. She is not a little girl at all. She's an old girl in a little girl's body, and she's let's say neurologically divergent and hurts people, hurts herself sometimes, and is very good at lying. Movie ends. She sinks into a frozen pond, possibly dead. Who knows?
Much like the actor that Mr. Burns hired to play one of the Simpsons kids, she is an Estonian dwarf. And that is the big twist of the movie.
Yes, that she's an Estonian little person, and
Yep,
actually
thank you,
in her 30s. So let's go to Orphan First Kill.
Should I,
gotta tell.
should I talk about my favorite scenes in the movie?
No,
we'll
that's
just go
okay.
ahead. We'll just
We
go
don't need
ahead.
to- why don't we just talk about the movie that we actually are talking about today? The title comes up immediately, which made me think this was a short for a moment because it was just like Orphan First Kill, just jumps at you. There's no cold open. And I'll very surprising to find out as we watch it. It's not actually about her first kill. The title is incredibly inappropriate. So it's Estonia, 2007, and a car drives through some snowy woods. It's very The Shining. And the driver of this car is going to the Sarn Psychiatric Institute. This woman, Anna, she's an art therapist. She is starting her first day at the Sarn Psychiatric Institute in Spookyville, Estonia, which is located on Creepy Mountain in the snowy wastes of that country. And so it's her first day. She gets a binder full of security procedures. And as the doctor is telling her, hey, here's what you need to learn, an alarm goes out. Lena's not in her room. Lockdown. You wait here in this room. Alarm, klaxon, flashing red light. Lena's free. Lena's free. Lena's free. We gotta get her. And so doctor says, Lena's our most dangerous patient. You wait here alone in the art room. And she turns and sees that there's a girl at one
Where
of the
Lena
desks.
likes to hang out.
Yes. There's a girl at one of the desks sketching. And it takes this art therapist 1,000 years to even consider that this might be the dangerous patient that's on the loose.
Yeah.
That she goes, are you the daughter of someone who works here? Which is bonkers. That the daughter of the staff at the Psychiatric Institute would just have the run of the place like she's Lyra in Oxford in the Golden Compass. Like, that's not a safe place to have a kid running free. Yeah, Dan?
Well, I just want to talk a little bit about the character of Lena / Esther. Who
It's not Lena Dunham. I should make that clear.
Thank you.
The
Or is it?
the actress, I think her name's Isabel Furman. At the time of the first movie, she was 11 years old, playing an adult who pretended to be a child. Now she is an adult who's pretending to be a child. She is in her early 20s, and I don't like. I felt like when watching this movie, the first shots of the snowy drive were so like beautiful and crisp, and then so much of the rest of the movie looks like they smeared Vaseline all over it. And I was wondering, like, is this to hide the fact that they now clearly have an adult woman playing this person who's supposed to look like a child?
I think it's partly for atmospheric effect, but also partly. I mean, the movie. I don't know how many child body doubles or what angles they used, but she looks very much like a grown-up pretending to be a child in this movie.
Is she?
No, she's probably around your height, Hallie. Maybe it's slightly shorter than you. She's like 5'3", I think.
God.
So yeah, it's movie magic. That's
it's movie magic.
Part of the appeal for me. I love forced perspective. I love body doubles. It's all over the place in Lord of the Rings. It's in this movie too.
That's why Stuart's favorite movie is Clifford, starring Martin Short as a mischievous little boy.
A movie that is getting a cultural reevaluation as we speak, Elliot.
That's very true. That's very true. We are living in the new Clifford universe. Yeah, the MCU, the Martin Short Clifford universe. Yeah.
They did do like a very little like digital de-aging with her face, but most of it was practical effects from what I understand, just body doubles and angles. So
thumbs up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes me like the movie even more. I have even more respect for it.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, it is very hard to believe that the family doesn't recognize that. I mean, I guess the Orphan movies could also be called the Dumb Dad series, because every movie there's some oblivious dad who does not recognize that this is clearly not a child.
It's all about dumb hot daddies,
dumb sexy dads.
Dumb
Yes.
sexy, these dumb daddy, and the dad in this one,
Dumb
it's what's the actor? It's Donald Sutherland's other son, or one of Donald Sutherland's other sons.
It's like
it's Rossif Sutherland, and he is. It's just like the character he's playing is so like hushed and like this hushed, sad dad bod dad who's oblivious to the world around him because he has an artistic soul, and he paints the chintziest paintings. Anyway.
I thought those were cool.
Thank you. I think they're cool too. And they're tied in with the first movie.
When we get to them, they're kind of. This is me being snobby. They're kind of level 1 art. But
No, what's ridiculous is her paintings, and everyone's like, "You're so talented." It's like she looks like she like is a child drawing.
Wow. So anyway, this girl. We're back at the Sarn Institute. This girl introduced herself as Lena. She's got a sharpened pencil in her hand. Oh no, she's seen the Dark Knight. She knows what you can do with a sharpened pencil. And but the doctors come in. They demand she drop the pencil, and it lands with a boom. And the doctor goes, "Hey, you should know. I should have told you this beforehand when I told you Lena was super dangerous and that she was on the loose. She has a gland disorder. She stopped growing at 10 years old, and she's now 31, and she's an exceptional con artist." And talks about, oh yeah, Lena invaded a family as a runaway and killed all of them. Anyway, welcome to your new job.
Which is possibly the first kill, but we're not sure.
We'll never know. And the first art therapy class, Lena suddenly taunts this other patient who turns feral whenever offered a piece of candy. And this is 9 minutes into the movie. And I was like, there's a lot going on already 9 minutes in.
Yeah, it's great.
Lena is watching a movie in her room. I believe it's The Little Princess with it's Shirley Temple's version of it. She gets a package from a guard that has a dress in it. And there's an icky part where she is seducing this guard to come into her room, and then she slams his head against a wall so many times that he dies.
Yes.
And steals his key card and escapes. And there's a whole sequence where she's kind of sneaking through the halls, just dodging people, and no one in this hospital has peripheral vision. There's no way that they wouldn't notice her. And this is the beginning of Lena.
Put it up in the fucking goof section, dude.
Sorry, that's the thing you object to, and not the fact that this person with this glandular disorder has the strength to beat
Dan,
this guy to death by like slamming his head into the
Dan,
wall.
I'm
I
actually
assume-
looking at the security guard's file, and he has a gland disorder
I
that makes
see.
his head super soft.
Yeah, he has what's called eggshell head, where his head is actually as thin of it as an eggshell. Yeah,
It was
he should have been wearing.
complimenting.
He should have been wearing his helmet. It reminds me of the Psychiatric Institute in the movie Glass, where there was one security guard on duty at all times, and it was like, wait a minute, you're holding criminal masterminds. Like, you can't just have one person. Anyway, this starts a theme of the movie, which is that the movie is presenting Lena as this brilliant Hannibal Lecter-esque sociopathic mastermind when she's constantly screwing up and she's constantly making mistakes. And only because
Makes
because
her
the people
more
she's
relatable as a hero, Elliot.
because the people that she's fooling are so either oblivious or evil that they either don't notice or choose not to notice.
One thing that I like, and we'll reveal the big twist of this movie
When we get to it.
When we get to it. So
Spoilers, get ready for Orphan first spoilers. is
yeah,
coming
if
up.
you want to see this movie, see it before we talk about it because there is a big spoiler.
Yeah, just
but,
crack open your Paramount Plus and watch that shit.
But I will say this sort of vaguely now. Like, I think it's hilarious how this movie suggests that, like, oh, maybe how good she is at pulling the scam in the first movie is partly because she's gotten some help in this movie. Like,
I mean, she's
figuring out
not
how to do it.
super good at the scam in the first movie either.
I didn't see the first movie, so that makes sense to me then more that this is the still untested Lena.
Yeah.
She has not fully become. They should have called it Becoming Esther. They should have called it Orphan Becoming Esther. Like, that would have been a better name for it.
Perfect.
But
perfect.
but anyway,
Or Orphan kills 6 through 12 or whatever.
yeah, that's true. Orphan, not the first kill, but some early-ish ones. Anyway, she's dodging people. She eventually, a security guard briefly stops her, but she goes, "Hey, do you want some candy?" to the feral inmate whose job is to stand in the lobby with a mop and a bucket, just hauntingly, very slowly mopping to scare people as they walk in, like a haunted mansion. Like it's like a Halloween haunted house, you know. And so the feral one attacks that security guard, and Lena escapes, and she manages to get into the car of the art therapist who quits her job, but doesn't seem to. Now, maybe I misunderstood what was going on. It looked like her art therapist is in the car. Lena gets in. Anna, the art therapist, leaves and quits, then gets back into her car and drives to the city, and then seems confused about whether or not Lena is in the car or not. And maybe I missed something. It seemed like she should have known the whole time that this.
I do
dangerous
think you
person
missed
was in
something.
a
I
car.
think that you saw that Lena was in front of her, like gave her like the little spooky,
Yeah.
like, shh, don't tell anyone that I'm escaping. And then so Anna, the therapist, was like, oh, she ran off into the woods or whatever. She doesn't know
because
that
I thought
she,
there
like,
was
got into the
I thought there was
car.
a shot. I thought there was a shot of the door opening and closing, but maybe I misread that. Maybe that was Anna getting out,
Yeah.
or maybe that was afterwards.
Yeah.
Anyway, because if I know Lena is out and she's shushing me, I'm staying in my car and I'm getting away as quickly as possible.
Locking the
I'm not
doors.
bothering to give notice. I'm not even Trevor Noah-ing and announcing it on the last day as a surprise. I'm just leaving without telling anybody.
That's yeah. I mean, like, that could be an email. That's like.
Yes.
By the
You know what?
way-
I think this confession under duress because I'm scared there's a psychopath out there could be an email.
I think,
Upon
yeah, I mean,
review,
I'm not a
it
big
seems-
fan of the concept of quiet quitting, but maybe in this case.
Yeah.
This is time for the
She
big
already
resignation.
quit. She quit.
And then she quits. Yeah. Anyway, she goes home. The trunk of her car opens on its own, and when she walks around to look at it, there's no one in there. And she goes into her house, and Lena's there with a tire iron, and she hits her with the tire iron. Lena takes a while to play the piano. It turns out she's a beautiful piano player.
Yeah.
She drinks some wine. She browses the internet looking for missing American girls she can pass for, and she dresses up in her fancy dress that was given to her. She looks fully orphan style now, and then she finds that the art therapist is still alive, so she kills her by hitting her a bunch more times with the tire iron.
And she's
Still not the
changed
first
into-
kill.
She's changed into her like clean clothes now. Like,
Yeah.
she took off the clothes that had all the blood on them, cleaned herself up, and then she had to bloody herself up again.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's got it. So I mean, it's a mistake kids make. She's not a kid, of course, but
Yeah.
so she goes to a
She's method.
yes, she goes to a play. She's the most method actor there is. She goes to a playground. She sits spookily on a swing at night until a police officer comes by, and she's like, please, sir, I am American. And she has this accent through the rest of the movie. I don't think she even tries to do an American accent, which is hilarious. Anyway, then we cut to Darien, Connecticut. That's right, everybody. One of the most expensive places to live in the United States. They've got an amazing public library, Darien, Connecticut.
I was unaware of but when it came up, Audrey immediately was like, "Oh, that's a very, very fancy place." And then when things started happening later on, she's like, "Oh, okay, it makes it like you don't set something in Darien, Connecticut, unless you're commenting on how wealthy the people there are, or whatever." As they kind of get into later,
a little bit. Also, I mean, or just the fact that they mainly make movies about rich people now. Like they don't make a lot.
Elliot, come on. I mean, I'm having a hard time.
What's the last mainstream entertainment movie you saw that didn't take place in a big house with family with lots of money?
I'm saying
what about that one about the laundry? The
Everything Everywhere All at Once? I'd still call that a fairly independent film, but good point. That's one.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it is clearly a point that they're making to make these people wealthy, once we know the big reveal, like the idea of we're getting away with these things. I think the movie's not even subtle about it. How can you say
no? But the fact that the son later on goes, people like me matter in this country. They are being very heavy-handed, but I think you're giving them I'm not going to give them credit for making the most blatant point of rich people have secrets.
All I'm saying is they said it in a place purposefully. That's literally all the
I don't know.
Point.
What was the family like in the first Orphan movie? How are they doing financially still?
You just like to middle class things.
Middle class.
I don't even know what we're arguing about.
I'm just tired of watching movies where the main characters have huge houses and they don't have to worry about money and things like that. So anyway,
that's literally part of the point. Of the film.
Kind of the interesting thing though is that there's also a trend in a lot of media to focus on how out of touch rich people are, but at the same time it kind of feels like lifestyle porn. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, that's the thing. It's a very thin line between those two things, and I think that's really more. Thank you, Stuart, for articulating more what I'm getting at. That it's hard to do this kind of thing without it slipping into lifestyle.
That's fine. You can be annoyed at that, but separate it out from clearly a decision was made to do this for a particular reason. That's what I'm saying.
They do have a rat in their house.
Yeah, I didn't realize I wasn't allowed to use my personal opinion about stuff. Anyway,
it's kind of a fancy rat, though, right?
It is. Well, the rat does have a little top hat and a monocle. That's true. So, Darien, Connecticut, it's a fencing competition. Suddenly, there's an indie-style rock song playing. It was a big change in style from the beginning of the movie. And we meet Gunnar. He's a high school boy who's a fencer. And he does not want to hang out with his parents after his big fencing meet. And the dad is resentful of the son having fun, and the mom, Julia Stiles, is like, "Hey, I miss our daughter too, but he has to move on. We all have to move on." And a detective shows up from the cops. "We've got news about Esther, your missing daughter." Cut to Moscow, Russia, that Moscow. Julia Stiles is there, and she's told that apparently Esther, their missing daughter, was kidnapped by a Russian and taken there for years. And the federal agent is like, "Be ready for some changes." And they walk in to find Lena ominously playing the piano.
Yeah, it's awesome.
and she both doesn't look or sound like their daughter.
She kind of looks like
her. She kind of looks like her a little bit. She looks a little bit like her. Anyway, she goes over and hugs mom. Now they're on a private plane flight back home. And Julia Stiles is showing her family pictures. And Lena makes the first of her incredibly stupid mistakes. Although Julia Stiles leads her into this trap. Because Julia Stiles shows them a picture of an old lady, and she goes, "Oh, Nana's been so good to us." And Lena goes, "I can't wait to see her." And Julia Stiles is like, "She died when you were a little girl." Oh, right, I forget. Haha, I've been away so long. And then she steals a mini bottle, goes into the bathroom and drinks it, and starts hitting things, going, "Stupid, Lena, stupid," and then walks out again.
I mean,
very relatable.
You know what? This is not Lena's fault, because Julia Stiles said,
"No, she says she's been so good.
She's been so good." No one says that.
Yeah. About a dead person. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. They're a crazy family. It's possible there's a ghost in that house. Anyway, she keeps slipping up. She says father instead of dad. And when her mom tries to take the cloth choker off of her neck, she grabs her wrist and says no. Anyway, there's a tearful airport reunion with the dad and the brother, and the brother's greeting is pretty underwhelming. We're going to find out why later on. He's like, "Hey, how you been?" They drive home in silence. And Lena is amazed at their huge mansion. And this is where it's halfway between wealth porn and halfway between Annie singing "I Think I'm Gonna Like It Here"
Yeah.
from Annie, where she's just like, Fabergé eggs on the mantle, hardwood floors everywhere. I think I'm gonna like pretending to be your dead daughter here. And so her room is still full of little dolls, and Lena says,
Dollhouse, beautiful dollhouse.
"Beautiful
Yeah, it's
dollhouse."
gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then and one of those like little Victorian rat windows.
What's amazing is that what's weird, it seemed to be setting up the idea that Esther, when she was live, lived in the 19th century.
Yes.
At the very least, the 1950s, because she's got this incredibly old school record player that she plays a Jimmy Durante song on.
Jimmy Durante.
There's
What
like
the kids loved back in. Wait, so she would have been, let's see, 2007. So she was kidnapped in, I don't know, 76543.
Yeah.
2003. We remember the Jimmy Durante resurgence in 2003.
It was on the heels of the swing dance revival, was the Jimmy Durante Renaissance. Yeah. When you would just walk onto schoolyards and you hear kids going, "Hinka-dinka-doo, good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. Well, give me some more Go-Gurt." That kind of stuff,
A guy who I'm primarily familiar with through Looney Tunes, when people would turn into him because they have a big nose.
Stuart, in the first movies, did they explain why she dresses like she's out of like the 19th century?
No.
It seems it's kind of
I
like
think it's
how-
because it's scary.
But it's also
Spooky?
it's like a combination of like, I guess in Eastern Europe they dress old, but also when Julia Stiles goes to buy her clothes, she buys her clothes that are all like look like they're from the Victorian or the
Yeah.
or like she looks like she's in the Tsar's court in under Nicholas
But what
II.
about,
I think she's, like,
what
trying
about
to
the
lean
dad's
into it.
boxers?
But the dad does have some good, silly boxers. That's
Yeah.
true. Anyway, yeah, she's trying to lean into her returned daughter's love of old fashioned, of looking like an American Girl doll. Anyway, Lena says she likes painting. The dad is a professional artist. He's a painter who's been kind of blocked ever since Esther disappeared. So he's very excited. And they leave her to rest, and she puts on that Jimmy Durante record about love. The next day, mom takes Lena to her therapist appointment, and the therapist has a parrot, and
That's
Lena
another goof,
misidentifies it as a different parrot. And I just immediately I was like, why would a therapist have a parrot, the one bird that can repeat what is said in confidence in the office? The minute I saw that
Well-
parrot, I would be like, "Sorry, doc," and I would walk out.
You do need, it's
Loose
not like
lips.
the cartoons, speaking of cartoons, you do need to repeat the phrase to the parrot several times to get them to mimic. You can't.
But that happens in therapy. So-
Yeah, that is therapy. Just repeating your issues over and over again until you hear them.
I think,
all I know is
I think you're
that-
mistaking that for the Meisner technique, is what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
thinking
Oh,
of,
I
the
see.
Meisner
I see.
technique.
The
of acting.
Meisner bird technique. I
I don't know what you
know
said
it's-
to your. I don't know what you said to your therapist, but I just keep saying, "I'm sorry, blood everywhere," over and over.
Yeah. A lot of your therapy things is just you basically repeating the lyrics to this Megadeth song "Sweating Bullets."
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Lena's like, I'm not ready to tell my parents what happened to me, and mom gets called in, and Lena goes to another office, and being a master spy, she manages to trick the receptionist or the other doctor into leaving her office, and then turns on the old-timey intercom, which of course is also connected to the therapist's office, so she can hear what's being said. And the therapist is like, it feels like I'm seeing a performance. It doesn't seem totally real. And there's this other kid in the waiting room who catches her snooping. And so
And
Lena-
Lena says, "What do you think? Does it feel like a performance to you?"
what if
Can
I
you
do
give me
it
some
more
notes?
like this? What about if I use an Italian accent? And the kid is like, too much, too big. And so she pretends that this kid hit her in order to cut the appointment short and get out of there.
Yeah.
As they walk out, she notices across the street the detective, who is not even trying to hide that he's there, is taking pictures of them leaving. He's not even standing behind a bench or anything. Like, it's
I'm
amazing.
just taking pictures for my art series of photos of therapist's office.
It's called Exterior Interiors. So Gunnar's friends show up. They tease Lena, who curses at them in maybe Estonian, maybe Russian. I don't know. And Dad takes Lena to his art studio, which I have to say is amazingly clean and well organized for an art
Yeah.
studio. Maybe
Wait,
because he
yes.
hasn't used it in a while.
But wasn't it surprising that those kids were so mean?
No, they're rich kids.
That's a theme in the Orphan movies. People being unnecessarily mean to Esther for no reason.
And maybe this is part of the subtext Dan has dug up in it about rich people not being nice and not caring about other people.
She literally, like you said, he says later on, people don't care about people like, and the turn that Julia Stiles. Anyway,
Well, but
Anyway.
these kids don't know this unless they know the twist. Unless Gunnar like revealed to them ahead.
Yeah.
of
Oh
time.
yeah, but they're just they were also just like
They're
rich
just jerks.
assholes.
They're just
I
jerks.
mean, they're all bad people. They all probably killed people too.
And so let's talk about our opinions about the dad's art, because so here's what the dad does. He paints pictures, and then using black light paint that you can only see when an ultraviolet light is on, he paints hidden pictures. So this looks like a picture of a woman looking at herself in the mirror. Turn on the black light. She's crying. There's tears on her cheeks. What about this picture of a little girl? Turn on the black light. There's butterflies flying around her. And I was like, come on, man. There's nothing going on. And they're like, and
He's
Julia Stiles is like,
targeting the Grateful Dead market that loves fine arts so much, and they want it for their home. I don't know.
I mean, I bet maybe they're saying something about the art market where it's like I could see some rich jerk buying this for a lot of money and being like,
Yeah.
check it out. I had to install black
yeah.
lights in the room for this. Get it? She look in the mirror, but really she's sad. As opposed to like
Hallie's
art where you have to figure it out.
I mean, maybe I'm that rich jerk who
Oh
would
wow,
buy it.
wow. You're Jeff Goldblum in Hannah and Her Sisters being like, yeah, I need a painting that's about yay big that goes with my couch.
I'm like those people. Did you guys?
Oh, sorry. I mean Daniel Stern. I'm sorry. Daniel Stern in Hannah and Her Sisters.
Well, I mean, Stuart, you said you like the art too, right?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's black. Like I love blacklight shit. That's
Here's-
great.
Yeah, it looks cool.
I guess it's
And
more. I
even
feel like
the
he's not taking advantage of the opportunities.
That's true, but I don't feel like we actually got a good look at all of the.
That's true.
the
We never
black
saw a
light
finished
painting.
piece. That's
The
fair.
thing
It
that
also-
confused me about this, honestly, was, and maybe I should give the credit to the movie for not doing this, for not everything figuring into the plot. But I was sure that later on, like, we would see this come up where there was a secret message in a blacklight painting, or
Oh, I
don't
think
know.
I think
For
that's,
that,
I think
you
if
need to go back to the first movie
okay.
because
Okay.
this is a setup because she used the skills she learned here that's part of being a prequel, you know.
I see, and it all fits in. I mean, here's
is
one where I
actually
felt
Fits
like they were
together
hit-
perfectly.
and this is like the rich people theme.
This
Where,
is supposed to be a prequel.
yeah, this is
Yeah,
set
yeah.
before the other Orphan.
Oh, that's why it's called First Kill.
yeah,
yeah.
but we don't see her first kill.
Okay.
So you thought it was a sequel, even though it's set in 2007. You thought it was a sequel.
I didn't even know that it was set in
I can
2007.
only
It
assume
says Estonia 2007 at the very beginning.
Well, I was stretching while I was watching it.
I mean, Dan routinely gets up to cut produce while he's watching the movie. So
I can
busy
only assume
man,
that when the third movie comes out, she's gonna be even younger, played by the same actress.
But when the first one, it's going to be called Orphan, First Kill for Real, and she's actually going to be a kid pretending to be an adult.
I love that every movie the camera just gets farther and farther and farther away from her.
See, I thought that she was
Until
like,
they're like Esther, let me give you a hug, and they have to one of them is 50 feet behind the other, so they have to like try to mime it, like
have,
someone at
like-
the Leaning Tower of Pisa pretending they're
they just
lifting
have
it up.
like fake hands on poles.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Fay Ray and the King Kong hand. That's what they have to do is enormous
love
fake
it.
arms.
I
And
thought you were gonna.
she's in the first one, she's a kid pretending to be a baby. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, I thought that the first kill would be like her as a baby tearing her way out of her mother's womb.
Perfect.
Oh, like in It's Alive. This is a very obvious hitting of the theme of there's more beneath the surface than what you see on the surface. That, hidden meanings, and that isn't Esther the ultimate hidden meaning because she's not really Esther. So anyway, they are painting in there, and she starts to fall in love with the dad. She's really drawn to
That's her
him,
thing.
pun intended, because they're drawing. And she finds an evidence board that of Esther's disappearance that her dad made. And Julia Stiles catches Lena putting charcoal from the sketch she made of the dad onto her own lips, as if she's kissing the idea of the father. And later, as Julia Stiles walks in and almost looks in Lena's old book of evidence photos that she carries around while
Yeah.
Lena's in the other room binding her chest to look more like a kid. And then Lena finds Esther's diary and starts practicing the words that Esther uses in it, such as mommy, words she never could have known before.
Well, yeah, she uses mummy with a U, like either the British way or the Egyptian pharaoh
The movie
way.
starring Brendan Fraser.
But
Yeah.
I wonder, she's binding her chest to look like a child. I wonder if that answers your question about old-timey clothes to some degree. Because I feel like if you were in just like a T-shirt, it would be hard to cover up the fact that you have like a bunch of like wrapping on your chest. Who knows?
I don't know about that. If it's, I mean,
Maybe.
I'm not the first one to know anything about about binding your chest to make it look smaller. But Hallie, do you have experience with this, or you're saying that I do that?
I'm saying that you do.
Oh, I do that.
Yeah, I like that sassy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to distract Stuart with my enormous breasts, so I have to.
I
I
understand
wouldn't
why
be
she
able to
would
pay
wear
attention
loose
to the
clothes, but
movie.
they don't have to be tied to a certain era. She could wear like
Yeah.
They could be baggy
overalls.
clothes or just sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, overalls would make her look more like a little kid, to be honest.
Yeah.
We'll
Get
make
some
her look more
Oshkosh
like
on
a
her.
farmer
Yeah, but I think
or an engineer.
The problem is then
I love Dan sees a kid wearing overalls. Like, farmers are getting younger and younger. I can't believe this kid is running.
Train at your age.
I mean, she would have to get like kind of bright overalls because she also has to wear a choker. So if she wants to blend in with like a
Yeah, that's
raver
true.
kid or I don't know.
Yeah. So
Wait. Now that we're back to the clothes, I have one question.
Yeah.
Who sent her that dress in the beginning?
so I think that was just the security guard bringing
Yeah.
it to her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It I was at first it looked like it was male also, but I think he went out and bought that because he was.
It's
he's
pretty
he
classic
is-
cam girl
Okay.
gift type material.
He thinks he's grooming her, but she was grooming him for death.
I mean, it's not creepy. He knows she's 30.
I guess. I mean, she's still an inmate at the asylum that he's a security guard at.
Yeah, there's
There's
It's
still an
so
ethics
funny.
issue.
power differential there that I think needs to.
Yeah, that's.
I know.
Okay, sorry. Back to.
So anyway, it's dinner
I don't
time. The
know.
dad's really proud of Lena's drawing. Julia Stiles is in a dubious mood, and the detective shows up and is like, "Hey, I'd love to have a meeting with all of you and the therapist." And Lena's very rude to him and starts eating very very aggressively. She steals a bunch of jewelry and some money as a rat watches from her vents, and this symbolizes, of course, that rats. And it's clear that she's going to try to escape, but she's drawn back in by seeing the dad painting away in the studio that night, and she goes back to her room and her rat.
Yeah.
And the next day,
I
Julia
gotta
Stiles.
get that daddy, she says to
Yeah,
herself.
and the next day, Julia Stiles is jogging and sits on a like a giant manhole cover and looks at photos on her phone of Lena and of little Esther. The next day, there's a big fancy charity gala that Julia Stiles, I guess, organizes, or it's her charity. It's hers
Yeah.
in some way. And
Very weird. If it's her charity, why is it for childhood cancer rather than like missing children? Wouldn't you think the charity would have something to do with the disappearance of her daughter?
maybe the person that she consulted with who helps rich people find charities thought it would help her to get closure if she was working on a charity that was not about missing children.
Oh, that's true. Or
Yeah.
maybe the missing daughter also had cancer.
It's
Yeah.
possible.
This
yeah.
girl had really bad luck.
Yeah. Well, poor Esther. And luck's only to get worse for the girl pretending to be her. And Julia Stiles says to the dad, she's like, "When we got Esther back, I feel like we got us back." And they start making out and taking their clothes off, and she laughs for a moment at his funny boxer shorts.
There's a
And-
part in this
That's a
movie
trick, dude.
where she reaches into her underwear, and I was
Yes, I
genuinely
noticed
like,
that.
I'm like, wow, okay, movie. Like
I was
that's
like-
not
Yeah.
something you see in these
Well,
usually.
I feel like every time you see a movie sex scene and someone does something that someone would actually do,
Yeah.
with their significant other or just sexual partner, it always surprises me that it's not just kind of like weird, not quite lined up thrusting with dramatic gasping, but the same way that what's so brilliant about the scene in the sex scene in Don't Look Now, where it's like, yeah, and then they're naked and they brush their teeth and they get dressed, and just the shots of them being very casually naked around each other, where it's like, oh yeah, you don't normally see that in a movie. Normally, like there's a I
How
don't know, there's
strange
just not
that you
the
brought
sign
up Don't Look Now, Elliot.
yeah.
another movie with a killer little person.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
And a Sutherland.
yeah, that's true. And Sutherland pair.
Do
Yeah.
you think that's what led him to
Yes.
this project?
All this time he was like, "I'll show you, Dad. I'll do a killer little person movie. It'll be even better than yours. It'll make sense. I'll have a sex scene in it." So Alina, though, is watching this, and she's very angry, and she slashes the mom's dress, which interrupts their lovemaking. and she just wears a different dress. And so Gunner's supposed to watch his sister that night, but instead he invites his friends over for a fairly tame drinking and fire pit party, I have to admit. And Lena watches from a room.
It's not like it's Euphoria or something.
Yeah, and she walks in as Gunner is referring to her as a weirdo, and then she tells Gunner to go fuck himself and walks off, and all his friends are like, oh! And I was like, uh-oh, is what's going to happen to her? Is it going to happen to her what happened to the daughter, to the little sister in Hereditary? Because I don't think I can see another head covered in ants. I don't need to see that again.
Yeah.
That's
What a
maybe the
movie.
most distressing shot in a movie that I've seen in years. So anyway,
It gets
the
funnier
detective,
the more times you see it, though.
How is that possible?
So the detective shows up and he's like, "Hey, I just need to use your bathroom." and he goes in and he investigates Lena's
That's like
room.
a Fletch move right there.
He takes the Jimmy Durante record not because he's a huge fan, but because he used a black light again to see that there's fingerprints on it, and she sees him doing this. And the parents get home, and the mom sees
He
Lena's.
doesn't even turn off the record player.
That's true. Just leaves it turning, just like life. They're all in the circle game, you know. One season you're just like pretending to be a little kid, and the next you're growing up, you know. Words like "when you're older" must appease her, and she's like, "But I am older. I'm 30. I'm just pretending to be a child."
What is happening?
Dan, I'm celebrating the artistry of Joni Mitchell. Is what I'm doing.
Oh,
You know,
no, I can get on board with that. I just didn't
Okay.
recognize.
Dan, he stole her heart and her camera. So come
Yeah.
on. So anyway, it's a different song. So she finds Julia Stiles finds this book that Lena uses, and it's got all sorts of creepy pictures in it.
Yeah.
And at the back, she sees it's marked for the Sarn Institute. And she thought this was safe because Lena was in the shower. The shower's empty, which is a huge waste of water. That made me so mad that Esther's just left this shower running for I don't know how long. The detective's at home, pours himself a drink, starts doing some detective work.
Let's take a moment to talk about how he treats his knife when he like cut up like some citrus, and then he stabs the knife into the
cutting board.
And I'm like, you're fucking ruining your knife, dude. I mean, like,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, he's not gonna be around that much longer, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
But it was really snappy how he like made the drink. You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was really elegant.
Yeah. It's like he's doing it for
I was
TikTok
like,
or something.
I'd like to dance with that man.
Yeah.
And so he looks up the fingerprints on his computer scanner, and they are not a match for Esther's fingerprints. And he goes, "You're not Esther. Who are you?" But he doesn't get to answer that question because he's stabbed in the back using that same citrusy knife, and it must hurt extra bad because it's got lime juice on it when he gets
that's
stabbed
probably
with it.
that's probably the first thing. in this
Bernie,
book.
Bernie. And that's when the mom walks in, and she doesn't say, "Esther, what are you doing?" No, she shoots the detective dead with her gun because you know what? She goes, "This is all I do, clean up after the kids." And it's from this point on that Julia Stiles goes from if you didn't see a twist coming, goes from being the victim mom, the milquetoast victim mom, to being the gothic sassy mom who always has a quip.
Right. And I also look, you can disagree with me on this, but I think that this is part of the like rich person thing too, is like she turns into like, I am the bad bitch, like boss mom,
certainly,
who's like
certainly, yeah.
like wealthy and used to like having to take care of this shit. And like, I think it's
just like Lena's pretending to be Esther, Julia Stiles has been pretending to be the suburban, upper class mom who doesn't have secrets.
I really like her performance when she pulls this switch. Like
sure.
She makes.
Early on-
We can agree that she makes a meal of the role.
Yes,
Yeah,
very much so. You can tell this is a swim fan we're dealing with. This isn't her first crazy rodeo.
Well, but it's also
That's Erica Christensen, dude. Piece of
Damn,
shit.
it is. Well, okay, you can tell that there are 10 things she hates about you.
Okay, I'll allow it.
this is like, I mean,
She knows how to step up.
Yep.
like early in the film,
This is Rachel at the wedding we're seeing here. I know.
yeah, what is
Rachel getting married?
Rachel getting
yeah,
married
Rachel
to
getting married.
Margot
She's
at the
not in
wedding.
that either.
Oh, that's right. It's neither of those things.
Rachel and Margot went to different weddings.
Yeah.
so.
When this twist happened, I just
Let's
said,
say when Rachel was getting
"Oh?"
married. Yeah, thank you. Oh, but when Rachel got married, she was at the wedding though. So let's give you that at least.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say though, because it was funny to me. We were watching it, and Audrey's like, did Julia Stiles get like worse at acting, or are they not giving her much of a character? And then she's so good at playing the part once the pretense falls away, and it's clear that the problem is just like she has to play this like line, before
she's deliberately playing an uninteresting character up to that point for the contrast. But it also shows that the thing. So from this point in the movie, I was on board with this movie because I was like, oh, this is a bonkers movie. Okay. But it takes a fairly long time to get there. Starring Bonkers, everyone's favorite cat made out of chewing gum.
The movie that opens with explaining that this little girl is actually a 31-year-old con artist. That was like, Elliot's like, not crazy enough.
Well, no, only because I've seen not that gimmick, but that I've seen movies about brilliant serial killers who escape and trick people and things like that. Like I've seen that movie a lot of times,
right.
And so. For it to just be and I know the basic premise of the first Orphan movie, and I'm so used to slasher movies where they're like, it's the same thing, but now it's at a different house, that I was worried this was going to be another one of those. And so from this point on, it entered into more kind of like just more fun territory. The movie stops taking itself as seriously as it was and starts being like, all right, guys, let's loosen up. Like let's get loose and let's get wild. So,
I will say I don't, like
by the end it's almost into Universal Monsters territory by the end of it. But anyway, you're saying
there's no, for someone who is like me, who reads a lot about movies, like I can't avoid knowing when something is going to have a twist. So I walked into this movie knowing it's going to have a twist, which is always a problem because then you start anticipating what it is.
Yeah.
And pretty early on, I'm like, okay, well, if I was doing this, where would I take this to make it, work as a sequel? Because you've already burned the thing. And I'm like, oh, I bet that what is going to happen is like one of these family members or more like knows what happened to the original Esther. Like, so they know from the start that this person is
that's a
not,
con.
Yeah, it's a con, but they have to play along with it because they would be revealed, and lo and behold,
that's
what
speaking
happened.
of, here's the twist. Let's reveal it, everybody. And so I didn't know there was a twist in this going in. So I was like, oh, okay. I thought this was going to be more by the numbers than it was. So Mom reveals, hey, a while back, Gunnar was playing rough with Esther and accidentally killed her. And they don't go into further detail, but we can assume the worst, I guess. So we faked her disappearance. We threw her body down a well, and Dad doesn't know the truth. So you're making Dad happy, and I'm finally getting some. So he's been too sad to get it up, and now I am not going back to that. He's wearing his silly boxers again, and that means he is horny. So So you got to pretend to be Esther a little bit longer, and we can help you out. You can live this I'm gonna like it here rich life and not go back to an Estonian mental institution. And they clean up after Lena. She cleans up Lena. They throw the detective's body down the same well that Esther's body is in. And Mom talks to Gunnar, and he is like, I don't like this situation. And she's like, you are going to do this. Maybe you shouldn't have killed your sister if you didn't want to have to deal with it. And Lena becomes better friends with the rat that lives in her vent.
There's a moment where they're talking, and Gunnar's like, this is insane, even for us. And I'm like, I just want to say that about me and my friends sometimes.
Well, also, I feel like
every time we're like, hey, do you want to go see a movie? Like, man, that sounds crazy, even for us.
But also, I like that implies that maybe it wasn't just the one murder. That this family has always been like these two, the mom and son.
Maybe, but I mean, like accidentally killing your sister or deliberately, who knows? And then your mom helping you cover it up and never telling your dad. That's already a pretty high bar.
I know that for realsies, they're not saying that other things happen.
I've seen a lot of plays where families get together for the holidays and a secret comes out, and the secret is usually like an affair or that someone's gay. It's usually not we killed a sibling and we covered it up, unless it's a buried child, I guess.
Child.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the only truly loathsome character in this is Gunnar.
Oh yeah, Gunnar's set up to be.
Yeah.
Because
you understand the mom, like you understand her plight. She didn't want to lose both of her kids. One of them was already dead.
But Gunnar's such a dick. Losing him is not a real loss.
But the thing about Gunnar is that at no point does he get a win. Like he occasionally
he wins in that fencing competition. He's a fencing star in the beginning.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like he gets so he doesn't really get one up on Esther other than like being slightly shittier to her, and
Yeah.
he
Well, it's
gets
the-
like
but it's-
slapped, kicked in the balls, sprayed mace in the face, all kinds of shit.
Yeah, well, it's also this is what they're doing here is it's like the one thing that was bugging me a little bit by the end of this was that there's no, and this is fine in some movies, but there's no hero in the movie, and they have to turn Lena into the protagonist of the movie, and to do that, it means you need a hierarchy of assholes, basically, where Julia Stiles has to be now a threat to Esther, and then Gunnar has to be so incredibly unlikable that we are rooting for Lena, a murderer who we saw kill plenty of innocent people, to go after him. You know,
I think that's what makes it interesting.
it does,
Yeah.
but I mean, it would if it's just another thing that like I've seen, but it's the same thing they did with Hannibal Lecter, where they're like, this guy is a monster, but you know what? Now that we're making a sequel, he's the hero. So we got to come up with a worse guy. You know, now the Wolfman is chasing after Satan. You know, that
Yeah,
kind of
I mean,
thing.
I don't. I mean, I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily look at it that way. If like we're turning her into like the hero. I like a movie occasionally where I'm not expected to sympathize with anyone, and it's like what you call is like what I might call like a sharks movie, where like there's just like a bunch of sharks like
Sure.
fighting it out with one another.
Oh, no,
and,
I like
who's
that.
the smartest shark? You know,
I like that too. I feel like I think that's when the movie is working at its best. It's like that. But there
Yeah.
were times where I feel like you were supposed to be. It was very clear that you're supposed to be on Lena's side. You know, it was. There was. I don't think there was ever a point where it was like, let's see what happens. It's not. I'm trying to think of movies like that where it's like bad people getting their comeuppance when after. It's not the lady killers, something like that. Although even then, the old lady, you know, you're on her side. But
Yeah.
so anyway, they where was I? Let me get back to my notes. Okay, so Gunnar, this in the most setup shot I've ever seen in a movie. Gunnar is randomly teaching his dad how to use a crossbow, and we just see it for like 35 seconds, and it's like, come on, movie. Can you had I know
Come
now
on,
you know
movie.
a crossbow is going to be used later.
A
Like,
longbow is a much more effective.
well, but also like
weapon.
there is no situation in which a guy would be showing his dad in Darien, Connecticut how to use a crossbow unless that crossbow was going to be used to kill somebody later on in the movie. It was just so at that point you should have just had it that the dad collects medieval
No, I
weapons.
think
or
Dana has a
something
pretty
like that.
good point. Like if it was a longbow, like longbow's got greater range, and in the
Yeah.
arms of a trained English longbowman, I mean the
got more
punching power, like it
power,
can
it's
go right through a
easier
tree.
to-
No, that's true. And you just have to look
Reload.
at what the Battle of Cressy, right? And
Yes,
like an
exact-
Agincourt
exactly. Thank you.
to show you how powerful a longbow is. I mean, again, when the crossbow's actually used, it's a very short distance in the film. A longbow at that point would be unwieldy in that space. But you know,
I mean, a crossbow traditionally they protect themselves with a pavis as well. Not necessary in this movie because she's not going up against another ranged infantry.
Now, here's the other thing, though. A longbow also, you'd have to get a pretty good arc on that arrow, right? Is my assumption. You
What
wouldn't use it
about
just for
that
a straight
cider?
shot,
What's
would
that
you?
cider called?
What's that cider?
Strongbow.
Strongbow.
Oh, strongbow.
That
Yeah.
was funny because I could see as soon as we started talking about longbows, I could see Hallie's attention go elsewhere. I was like, oh, Hallie's thinking about something else. I wonder what it is.
It reminds me of, I
Cider.
think, my favorite
Yeah.
thing that Hallie ever said to me when when we used to work together at the Daily Show, where you were like, how many times am I going to have to listen to you guys talk about fucking Star Wars? And I was like, and it was clear it was the least interesting thing you could imagine talking about.
Yes.
Oh, it was amazing. And it was so many more times that you had to listen to it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I was also thinking about we need to talk about Kevin. Speaking of
now that's a longbow, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a hunter's bow.
that did
And
some
that's-
damage, I'd say.
And it's back in the news because as the star of the movie becomes more and more like the main character from the movie.
I
Wait,
mean,
really?
Not the. I would argue that
Well, not
Tilda
the
is
star.
the star.
Okay, Tilda's the protagonist. That's true. As the second lead of the movie becomes more and more like the antagonist in the film.
Did he kill somebody?
I mean, he's attacking people all the time, and yeah, he's in tons of legal trouble, and yeah,
Oh, I
it actually seems like he's having a serious mental health a crisis. Much in the same way that Kanye West stopped being someone that it felt good to make fun about because you were like, oh, he's having a real break. But anyway.
Oh, I didn't know that was
she-
him, and we need to talk about Kevin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this breakout role. That's why
he's the natural result of Tilda Swinton and John C. Riley having a child.
it's just like the old Conan O'Brien "if they made it" routine.
Yeah,
They just took their pictures and switched them, and that's what. That obviously, Zack Snyder was watching it and he said, "That's my The Flash right there." And then the movie Ricky and the Flash came out, and he auditioned to be the Flash in that. And they said, "No, you made a mistake. This is not about the DC character,
There's
the
no
Flash."
actual the Flash is kind of the band, I think, right? In that
And he's
one?
and he's like, well, can I advertise to be Ricky? Because I read a lot of Ricky Tikki Tavi before this. No, it's not actually a movie about a mongoose. Meryl Streep's going to play the part.
It's like, can I be the lead in Ricky Don't Lose That Number? It's like, that's a song.
That's the song. It's not a movie. Now, we do sometimes make movies based on songs, but not that one. Although they could easily make a movie based on that where Ricky keeps losing that number and he has to keep getting it back. Yeah.
Can I be the host of the Ricky Lake show?
No, again, that's a person, Ricky Lake. Oh, I thought it was a lake that I would jump in. And I'd tell people about the lake and why it's so beautiful to have a houseboat there. No, it's not a real lake. Oh, she's not a real person? No, she is a real person, Ricky Lake. She was in Serial Mom. Anyway, so you can't get more real than
Was
that.
she in Serial Mom?
Anyway, yeah,
Her
she was the daughter of
primary
Serial Mom.
role, like the role
Kathleen
she's best known for,
Turner,
of course, is Serial Mom.
Oh, sorry. The role she's better known for, Mrs. Winterbourne. Anyway, so
Hairspray.
Hairspray.
Yeah.
So
you're
lead
I
of
was just-
Hairspray.
I was joking. Well, the
Okay.
lead, I guess. For me, Hairspray is a divine movie, but
Sure.
Anyway, Gunnar teaches Dad to use a crossbow while Mom is coaching Lena for her next therapy session. And the next therapy session, it's an all-family session, and Lena, quote, reminisces, unquote, about a vacation they took where her dad fell off a horse and he had
I fucking love
shit in
this
his hair
shit.
or something.
I love this scene where she is like so excited to tell this fucking story, and it's like, back up, Lena. This is too much. You're getting way too into this shit. Talking
Yeah.
about how he fell off Stretch the horse. It's hilarious.
Now, also, this Esther is supposed to be what, 10? Like that's what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why.
Like she
what
is
she
so
went on-
self-possessed in the way she talks. Like that even more than the way she looks. It
Well,
just
also,
is
how
not-
long was she supposed to have
Like
been
4
gone?
years, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4
Yeah.
years.
If you
4 years.
like asked a 10-year-old to remember all this stuff that happened when they were 6, I don't think that they would actually be able to recall. I asked my kid who's 3 what happened like last month, and he has no memory of it.
Yeah. Why? And I asked my kids what happened at school today. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kids.
That's
Dan,
just
you
them
understand.
beginning to shut you out.
Beginning? Oh, the process is well underway, yeah. Unless I have something they want, like a hand that can throw a ball at them to hit with a bat. Anyway, or
You're one of the top owners of hands in this household, father.
and then the other kid comes in and goes, "You have eyes, don't you? What do you say to reading me 4 Ivy and Bean books in a row?" They're really good books, though. Anyway, so they have a party where the mom coaches Lena how to be at the party, and she plays piano for everybody. Gunnar confronts Lena and threatens her. He's like, "I own you." And that night, the dad is like, "I'm going to my gallery tomorrow." He talks like this. He's always talking.
I love
real
it. It's
quiet.
great.
I'm a painter. I'm so sensitive. Anyway, the same way that I feel like almost every male actor talks now in movies. I call it the Tom Hardy, where it's a lot of like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go over here." Like they're all trying to be Marlon Brando, I guess. Anyway, so Lena's like, "I'd like to go," and Mom says, "No, you cannot go to the gallery with Dad," because knowing that Lena on her own with Dad is just a 1,000 traps that Lena might fall into.
Also, I want to talk
That
about
he'll
like,
probably really fall in love with his daughter if she spends one day with him in the city.
Yeah.
there are more and more instances as the film goes along, but I just want to say that Gunnar and Julia Stiles' character are both really cavalier about being mean to this criminally insane
Yes.
Estonian murderer.
Yes. It's something that happens in movies a lot, and I guess also in the Trump administration, where you're like, I have something on this person. That means I own them, and they forget that this other person is a maniac and doesn't really care and is not, and always has an escape plan, which is I can murder you, I guess.
It does feel a little bit like we've like fallen into a Roald Dahl story.
I can see that. Oh, have you guys ever had rolled doll? They roll it up around cheese. It's just delicious. Yeah. But you're right. I feel like what was it? I was watching something recently where it was a similar thing where it was like, I'm going to tell everybody about your criminal past and how you murdered people unless you pay me $20,000. And he's like, all right, come over to my house and I'll pay you, and then kills them. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
right, he's a murderer. I forget.
Do you think
So,
do you think Roald Dahl had to come up with a pen name real quick, and he saw somebody rolling like somebody's doll down a hill, and he's like,
Probably.
Roald Dahl.
No, he was like he was at his kitchen table, and he was like, roll, doll.
Yeah. They were like, we
And the
need your
police officer's like, oh, well, I guess checks out. You're an author. You're a famous author.
The police officer goes, checks out and then writes that name in under A Lamb to the Slaughter by, and then submits it to the New Yorker. So the mom, she thinks she's being sneaky. She drugs Lena's dinner and then feeds her totally different food than everybody else is
great,
getting.
yeah.
And but Lena doesn't want to eat it. She feeds it to her friend, the vent rat. And Dad goes, "Hey, why don't you come paint with me?" And they bond as Mom watches ominously. And when Dad comes in, Mom comes in and insults Lena. And I had to remind myself, oh yeah, she's talking to a 30-year-old woman because she's like, "You think he'd be interested in you? You will never have him. Now I'm gonna go fuck my husband." And I was like,
Yeah.
oh right, because she's talking to a grown-up. I
she
forgot.
kills it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll never be in a relationship with him. And Lena comes back up and finds her pet
She
rat
does
dead.
call her a mutant freak a
Freak.
couple times.
Yes,
Yeah.
They get very mean.
Deformed.
Well,
Very mean.
she specifically calls her a mutant grifter, and I'm like, I don't think Grifter was a mutant, right? He was a super soldier who took a different thing.
Well, he was a combination of human DNA and alien DNA, right? As all the Wildcats were.
Yeah.
Now, Hallie, are you thinking about cider again now, or
I was thinking about there was like a mini series many years ago called Grifters. Do you remember that?
Well, what was that? What was the TV show with Eddie Izzard and Minnie Driver where they were grifters? Was that
Doing Time on Maplewood Drive.
no? Doing Time on Maple Drive.
no.
Maple Drive is the
Travelers?
is the movie where Jim Carrey is in a family with substance abuse.
I think it's Travelers.
Travelers. No,
Yes.
Travelers is an insurance company.
No, because, well, I mean,
Traveler
Traveler is
role-playing
like
game, Dan.
Travelers
It's-
is like what you do when you go
It's-
on a trip.
No,
It's a
Blues
word- I
Traveler
thought it
was a
was- I
band
thought
that
it
was
was-
inexplicably
it's- I
popular.
I feel like it was
It's
the
Blues is
rich.
a very
for
popular kind of
Romani
music.
people.
No, blue is a color.
I feel like
Anyway,
it was
so-
the riches. I'm gonna look this shit up.
The Riches, that's what it was. Yeah, they
Okay.
were a Romani family, but it was called the Riches. That's
boom,
right.
Boom.
So
Thinking
anyway,
of, wasn't there a movie called?
Probably.
Tra-
there was a movie called The Grifters from years
Uh-huh.
ago.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
And
So anyway,
Eddie and the Cruisers.
and there's also La Bamba, right?
I loved that movie.
The Commitments.
Yeah, the Commitments, the Five Heartbreaks, right?
Uh-huh.
Or
Has
Five
Lou-
Heartbeats.
You guys, is Lou Diamond Phillips canceled?
I don't know. What did he do?
I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking about him fondly recently, and then it popped into my head like, wait, is he canceled?
Well, I think you know what it turned out. He was actually Lou Blood Diamond Phillips, and that's inexcusable. That
His middle name was not ethically sourced?
No, he was actually Conflict Diamond all this time. So anyway, the next day, so Lena finds her rat dead, and she gets her revenge the next day. She goes, "I made a smoothie for you, Mom, and it's got a dead rat in it."
I do
And-
love how many times like she refused the smoothie before being forced to drink it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's that kind of stuff I love when an ordinary thing is freighted with cat and mouse gaming. This is I think maybe my favorite section of the movie because the movie is just like you know what you want to see. It's the two of them trying to kill each other and kind
Yeah.
of getting pranks on each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, then it gets sloppy. They're at a train station, seeing the dad off to go to New York. And Mom and Gunnar are talking, and the dad goes, "Hey, you go over to your mom and your brother. I'm gonna go get some coffees." And Lena is about to push the mom in front of a train, but bumps into a bystander who just kind of collides with her, and who intervenes. And the way she's gonna push the mom, and I assume Gunnar, is just really clumsy and sloppy. Like there's nothing slick about it. This isn't even. When the first appearance of Venom, where he's just a hand in a crowd that pushes Peter Parker onto subway tracks, and Peter Parker's like, "Why didn't my spider sense go off?" And you didn't find out for a little bit later. It's because that guy's a symbiote that used to live on Peter Parker's pants. Anyway, or on his body. But
Hallie's
anyway,
got cider eyes.
yeah, she's got. So it's like that's the sequel to Betty Davis eyes.
Yeah.
She's got Betty side. She's got Hallie cider eyes. Mom is like, "That's it, you're dead." And Lena escapes from them. She gets into their car and drives away. And here we have another great moment. Lena's driving in some snowy woods. It looks like Estonia and Darien, Connecticut look almost identical.
Yeah.
And she turns on the radio, and Maniac on the Floor is playing. She
sparks
puts
up
on
a fucking
sunglasses.
doobie.
She starts smoking. Does she put on lipstick too?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And this is the one time in the whole movie where she looked like a kid to me, was when she is trying her best to look like a cool grown up.
Do you think they had
And
to
she-
make a giant size car for her to drive?
Yeah, because remember she was like all.
I think she's just
Yeah,
scrunched
yeah.
down.
See over the steering
She's
wheel.
just
Yeah.
scrunched. I love the idea. They're like, all the money in the budget went to making this giant car a cab that she could sit in. And the police pull her
I
over
would be
and bring her
surprised
back
if they
home.
like cut out part of the seat or something though, like that.
They must have done
Yeah.
something, yeah.
I think
Anyway.
she was just leaning way down low. I mean, her name's Lena.
Good
So,
point. Good point.
So she gets brought back home, and Gunnar and her mom are like, "Okay, we're just gonna fake your suicide. We're gonna slash your wrists." But she gets free by.
I fucking love this part because they
Okay,
get
tell
home.
me about it, Stu.
Well, I
Yeah.
love that they come home and they're like, okay, fuck this, let's just kill her. And Gunnar's like, finally. And they go up to the bedroom where Lena's at, and Lena turns around and sees them waiting to kill her, and she's like, oh fuck. Like it is the moment where I'm like, oh yeah, they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah, that's right. The gloves are off. The choker remains on, but she runs away, and the mom is like, Gunnar, finish this. And he takes out his fencing saber. He almost puts his fencing mask on and then decides that's dumb and throws it down in a moment that is totally unnecessary, but I thought really good for that character. Just like him putting the fencing mask on and looking himself in a shiny piece of art and being like, oh, no, that's stupid, and taking it off. He doesn't get the chance to stab her with his saber, though, because she's waiting for him with the crossbow and shoots him to death with that, and then stabs him to death with the saber. And it just like, anyway, that's it for the crossbow. That's a wrap for the crossbow, everybody.
Well, I enjoy what I think Stu seems to enjoy about this is how inauspicious Gunnar's demise is, because he is the worst of them. So it's just like, well, you don't even get like much of anything. You just get shot.
You get a distance attack.
He gets treated like trash. And meanwhile, Julia Stiles gets a call from her husband who's like, hey, I got a call from the cops about Esther. And she's like, oh, it's no big deal. I got it taken care of. He's like, I'm going to come home anyway. She's like, not a big deal. It's really good.
Yeah. And so the mom, there's a couple moments during this whole sequence where Esther like falls down somewhere or disappears around a corner and suddenly seems to be gone. But this is where we get what the movie is promising from the moment of the twist, which is hand-to-hand combat between Lena and Julia Stiles. And they're just smashing things over each other's heads. They're in this Nancy Myers-esque kitchen, just like breaking everything until the kitchen catches on fire. They end up on the roof of the house. The house bursts into flame so fast.
The roof.
This house must have been...
Yep.
The roof is on fire.
The house is made out of oily rags somehow because it goes up so fast. And this is...
the dad's a painter, you know?
Oh, that's true. It is full of turpentine rags, yeah. And so this is when the movie, I feel like, enters, Universal Monsters territory, because they're literally fighting on the roof of a burning mansion. This the dad shows, they end up both hanging off the gutters on the roof, which is silly.
You forgot one part, which was when they were chasing each other, her teeth got knocked out.
Oh, right.
Her fake teeth.
She has fake kid teeth that she wears. Only part of them got knocked out because the dad shows up. He arrives. They're both hanging from the roof. Who's dad gonna save? And Julia Stiles starts yelling, "She's an adult. She's not Esther. It's weird. She's an adult."
Yeah.
And in a kind of confusingly edited sequence, it seems like the dad either doesn't make a decision in time or moves towards Esther, and Julia Stiles just lets go and falls to the ground and head bursts on the ground.
I mean, like he decides to save Esther first, I guess, but it's not like he's making a choice. Like
audience
I
interpretation.
but I just feel like this.
The sign of art. Yeah, is that we can.
I agree with Elliot that I think that this should be much more clear that like he has to make a choice between them and makes the wrong one.
Yes.
Whereas this seemed a little muddy to me.
The way you could have done this.
What do you think, Stuart?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think he made the right choice because Julia Stiles hid the murder of his daughter.
Yeah, he needed to get out of that relationship, but
yeah.
Maybe don't save Esther either, though.
I mean, it's a
Did
little
you say
late for her
Sylvester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said Sylvester.
You have to save Sylvester from Cracked Magazine.
From Tweety, who is bedeviling him all the time.
If you're going to save Sylvester from anybody, it's that baby kangaroo that keeps kicking him in the face.
That's true.
My father, afraid of a mouse.
That's not a mouse.
No, I know you think it's a huge mouse. Much as Esther is actually a small adult, that mouse is what you think is a big mouse is actually a small kangaroo. What if if Looney Tunes was still around? Oh damn it! They should have done one called Orphan First Kick, where the kangaroo deliberately sneaks into the house pretending to be a mouse and has to take Sylvester out when Sylvester learns its secret. Oh. Looney Tunes. If only HBO Max wasn't cutting back on animation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Dad helps her up, and that's when he sees her fake kid dentures coming out, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And she's like, "It's okay, I love you. We can be together." And he goes, "You're a monster," and then he just falls to his death too. And And then the Jimmy Durante song starts playing as Lena very casually goes to her
Slowly.
burning room, gets a clean choker, gets her old book,
All the while
packs her bag.
not asphyxiating from smoke.
Not at all, not even sweating from,
That's
even
one
though
of the
she's surrounded
advantages
by
of
flame.
being. That's one of the advantages of being very short is that all the smoke is
Oh, I
on the
see.
ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, and also that it's clearly CGI flames. So don't worry, she was never really in danger. And there's fire trucks. When she walks out, there's fire trucks outside, but the fire trucks are not doing anything, and there's no firefighters around, which I thought was a very funny choice. That they're like, we better show there's fire trucks there, but we don't want to have people playing firefighters, and we don't want to
They
actually.
blew the budget building that huge car.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford
They're like,
firefighters.
look, you could have 2 firefighters, or you can have a giant car that she looks like a little kid in.
I can only assume that this.
Get the
this-
people who made that chair for Lily Tomlin. sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming this movie is.
Wait, hold on. They're like, but he retired. He lives at a cabin in the woods. And they go to this cabin, and he's chopping a huge log with a huge axe. And they drive up, and he goes, "How'd you find me? I stopped making giant stuff a long time ago. We're calling you back in out of retirement. It's a job only you can do." Anyway, Stuart, I'm sorry.
No. I'm assuming this movie was made during the pandemic, and it did have probably a pretty modest budget. And like, this is the kind of house that they would have at least one housekeeper. So I'm assuming they're just like as few extras as possible.
Oh yes, very much. I mean, that's the one when you're making a movie that's set almost entirely in one house. That's one of the good things about it is you lower the cast quite a bit. You're right. A house like that would at least have like groundskeeper or something like that. It's a huge house. Anyway, epilogue. Lena is still pretending to be Esther. I have to assume deliberately reminiscent of the end of Psycho. And the therapist is like, I'm sure we can find a family to adopt her, setting the stage for Orphan, the previous movie.
The first movie.
Well, also,
yeah.
if you like, the funny thing is, if you look at the trivia for Orphan First Kill, like,
Okay.
there's something that says something that, like, this movie was, like, one of the biggest goals of this movie was to close the plot hole of the first Orphan, where it's like, how did this, foreign woman, without papers or whatever, like, how was she up for adoption in an adoption agency
in the United States.
in the U.S.? Like, what was that? And I'm like, well, I don't know that it was made to close that plot hole. That's I guess they made it a priority.
I have to assume that either the star of the movie or the director tossing and turning every night saying, I can't live my life. And their wife was like trying to get intimate, and they're like, honey, what's wrong?
You wore your cute boxers.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about that plot hole, and I
Can't
can't.
stop thinking about
I'm gonna go sleep in the garage.
Well, yeah, when Julia Stiles is doing the press tour for the movie, she's like, yeah, I felt really passionate about this project because it gives us an opportunity to close an existing plot hole.
Yeah.
She goes, now, a lot of people who've paid attention to my career know that I'm all about closure. Closure for movies that I'm not in. That's why I made the movie O, to finally close the loop that Othello left open.
Some would say that there's not actually much closure for my character in the Bourne movies. I always seemed like I would be more important than I ultimately was, but
Well, that's
Anyway.
probably enough about Orphan. We've talked for almost the length of the movie.
Yeah.
So, guys, let's go to our final judgments. Is this spookily better than you expected? Is it creepily boring? Or is it, chain rattle, chain rattle bad?
I can tell you what our trademark shock timber categories
timber.
are.
I'm so glad you trademarked them, Dan, because we've had so many lawsuits that we've had to settle with the paperwork.
Was this movie totally scarifying? Was it totally snorifying? Or was it frighteningly funny? Yeah, those are it.
Yeah, those are it.
Yeah,
You were real confident at the being, telling me you knew
Yeah.
what they were, and then by the end you had
No,
lost.
those
that
are it.
confidence.
I was just trying. Then I was like, in my head, I'm like, wait, but what do those correspond? And I think scarifying is the good one. Snorifying is the bad one. Frightening funny is good bad.
Yeah.
No, I think snorifying is the good one.
And I would like to say, in answer to your question, I like this movie. I like it a little, just slightly less than the original Orphan, which I think looks better. And even though I like Julia Stiles a lot in this movie, like I think the cast as a whole is stronger in the first Orphan. But this is fun. it's very much like a 3 act movie where it's like the first act is the movie you have basically seen before. The middle act is Julia Stiles and Esther sort of having their battle of wills, and then the last is the actual big climactic stuff. And I kind of wish that the middle part of the movie was extended to shorten the other two parts, because that's the most fun part to me, where it's like,
Yeah.
what a zany character relationship for these characters to have, and let's see
Yes.
them try and maneuver within this. But
Yeah, because
that's what I said.
I also liked the movie more than I thought it was. I didn't see the first Orphan, and I find that this is me being a snob, I guess, but like I'm just having trouble with modern movies right now. Like it's hard for me to find modern movies that I'm like having fun with. I see a handful every year, but like especially with horror movies, I'm feeling like Dan when he talked about like when you see a lot, you kind of know the twist coming up. Like so I didn't see the first one. So but I enjoyed it, and I agree. I wish that middle of Act 2 twist was the end of Act 1 twist, basically. On the other hand, that's a lot of cat and mouse that they'd have to figure out, and they might run out of steam, and you'd end up with like a 70-minute movie, which wouldn't be terrible, I guess. But I ended up enjoying it. Once that twist hit and the movie kicked into gear, I was like, now I'm enjoying this movie. And I would say if you want to watch a real over-the-top, horror-y movie, go for it. Orphan, first kill. Technically not the first kill.
Yeah, I as I said, I like this movie. I think it's good. I feel like if they'd extended it, like they could have had more scenes of things like introducing her to rich people, and she has to navigate while Julia Stiles is also trying to mess with her. I do like. There's a party scene at one point where an old lady is like, "Now that you're not kidnapped anymore, do you have any plans?" And I'm like, "She's 11, dude. She doesn't have plans. Watch cartoons."
The one thing they didn't do that they could have done with that is have her go to school.
Yeah,
That's the thing and there's part of me that's kind of like glad they didn't do that, because she's gonna go, someone's gonna bully her, she's gonna threaten the bully or whatever. Like there's not that. I don't know. I can't think
and
of
that
anything
happened in the
interesting.
first movie.
It
There was a bully
okay.
kid, and she pushed the kid and broke her leg.
And Hallie, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kept asking myself, like, would this movie work if it weren't Julia Stiles in that role and it were just someone that I didn't recognize? I feel like your goodwill toward Julia Stiles does so much work.
That's true. I'll give you that.
But I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. What was I gonna say?
I'm just looking. Oh wait, guys.
I mean,
this
as a mom.
Yeah, as a mom, how do
mom.
you feel about it?
yeah.
As a mom, I would hide the death of one child if my other child
To save
killed.
the other child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a choice you'll have to make when you get to it. I don't know how I cross that bridge yet.
We all face that choice.
I
at
only
least
just
once
found
in our
out.
lives.
So the actor who plays the detective, Hiro Kanagawa. I didn't realize he also played a detective in 50 Shades Freed, which we watched for the Flophouse. They don't.
I watched that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we did a live show about it.
Yeah.
But I think. I mean, I'm not sure.
It
But
was
we
one of the
Yeah.
we didn't. They don't have the same name. But now I wonder: is this a way we could tie them together and make the 50 Shades and Orphan universes the same? And does that mean it's time for a what's his name? Gray, Christian Gray, is that his name? Christian Gray and an Orphan crossover.
Yeah, they adopt Esther, I assume.
Yeah. They adopt Esther, and she learns a little bit about them, and they learn a little bit about her.
Oh
And there's
no, that's
murder and
another
things.
daddy for her to fall in love with.
No,
Exactly.
yeah, I feel like he needs to unlock all of the sexual prowess bubbling beneath the surface. She's never been able to express, and
Yeah.
he's gonna.
Okay, now I'm
Oh,
kind of
no.
now I'm grossed out by more. All right, never mind.
Let's move on. Elliot, why don't you give us an ad that you were going to read?
You
I
got
think
it.
it's for Squarespace.
It is indeed for Squarespace. That's right, everybody. We're not just sponsored by icky feelings that we bring up and then we decide that it's better not to explore them. We're also sponsored by Squarespace. Not Squarespace. I'm sorry. That's LeePace.
Yeah,
if
now
there's-
you know how it feels. Yeah.
that's if you take all the curves off of LeePace, you end up with Squarespace. I'm sorry. Now I'm Dan all of a sudden. Okay. We're also sponsored by Squarespace. You know Squarespace. You love it. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. Look, you can use it to make beautiful websites that really stand out. You can use it to engage with your audience on the internet, the place we're all going to live anywhere someday. And you can sell anything, your products, the content you create. even your time. Did you know you could sell your time? You only have a certain amount of it, but Squarespace will help you sell off that excess time you don't want anymore. Squarespace, it's very easy to use. Dan, I believe you have personal experience with making your own personal website on Squarespace.
I did. I don't know if anyone ever looks at it, but it exists. If you want to look at it, people.
What's the URL, Dan? That will make it easier for them to find.
I think it's danmccoywriter.com.
I've looked at it. It's a beautiful looking site. It made me want to make my own site on Squarespace, and I just haven't gotten to do it yet, but I really want to do it. I think that Dan has now colonized the digital village with his own a little piece of himself that will live on forever, long after he's gone, until the link decays. Anyway, so you can use this to get business for yourself. You can use it to make your mark on the internet, to get your projects or products out there. You can create an online store. Whether it's physical or digital products, Squarespace has the tools you need to start selling online. You can create professional level video effortlessly. That's right. With the Squarespace Video Studio app, you can make and share engaging videos. You can tell your story with it. You can grow your audience. You can reach out and connect, because that's what the internet is all about, connections. And Squarespace can help you. Virtual real estate, it just means being on the internet. And Squarespace can help you do that. So, okay, go over to Squarespace right now. Go to squarespace.com/flop. You get a free trial of Squarespace to make your own website. You're going to need it. It's the future. Again, we're all going to live there. And when you're ready to launch, just use the offer code FLOP to save 10% off of your first purchase of a website or a domain. Again, that's squarespace.com/flop. Use it. You can get 10% off with the promo code FLOP.
And if you're listening and you want to feel like you're sitting in a giant car rather than a regular sized car, then maybe microdosing is right for you. Our show today is sponsored by Microdose Gummies. Microdose Gummies deliver perfect entry-level doses of THC that help you feel just the right amount of good. I can be a bit of a tempestuous person emotionally,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and sometimes a microdose gummy helps chill me out. So maybe that's one thing that you could use it to do as well. Microdose is available nationwide, and to learn more about microdosing THC, go to microdose.com and use code FLOP to get free shipping and 30% off your first order. Links can be found in the show description, but again, that is microdose.com, code FLOP.
Uh-oh, and what's this? It looks like we have ourselves a Jumbotron. That's right. Okay, and it goes like this. Goblin is a unique D12 role-playing game about a race of goblins banished to a post-apocalyptic Earth. Since goblins eat trash and don't know what radiation is, they have a blast as they scrounge for loot, feud with mutants, and constantly find and prevent new ways of blowing themselves up. The book offers all you need to get started, littered with laughable lore and comical classes to bring out your inner goblin. You can find it at DriveThruRPG or just visit goblin.house. So check out Goblin, the Goblin RPG, by going to goblin.house.
Hello, dreamers. This is Evelyn Denton, CEO of the only world-class, fully immersive theme resort, Steeplechase. You know, I've been seeing more and more reports on the blogs that our beloved park simply isn't safe anymore.
Murder them?
I'm gonna wreck it. They say they got mugged by brigands in the fantasy kingdom of ephemera, or hijacked by space pirates in infinitum.
I mean, I could have a knife.
My papa said that I needed to do a crime. Friends, I'm here to reassure you that it's all part of the show. These criminals were really just overzealous staff trying to make things a little more magical for our guests. We're just as safe as we've always been. This isn't a county fair, dreamers. This is Steeplechase.
The Adventure Zone, every Thursday at MaximumFun.org. Since the dawn of time, man has dreamed of bringing life back from the dead. From Orpheus and Eurydice to Frankenstein's monster, resurrection has long been merely the stuff of myth, fiction, and fairy tale. Until now.
Actually, we still can't bring people back from the dead. That would be crazy, but the Dead Pilot Society podcast has found a way to resurrect great dead comedy pilots from Hollywood's finest writers. Every month, Dead Pilot Society brings you a reading of a comedy pilot that was sold and developed but never produced, performed by the funniest actors from film and television. How does Dead Pilot Society achieve this miracle? The answer can only be found at MaximumFun.org.
Let us now go to the letter segment. Come with me.
To the lettuce segment. Hey, everybody. Here's where we talk about lettuce. Hallie, what's your favorite kind of lettuce?
Red romaine.
Red
That's the lettuce segment.
romaine.
I can't say that I like arugula. It's
No,
spicy.
I like
Anytime I get
arugula
some-
as well.
Oh, anytime I get something with arugula on it, I go, oh, I didn't want this. Arugula.
Well, I mean, is it like? Are you thinking of like a pizza or something? Because like that,
I like
Yeah,
arugula
yeah.
on a pizza.
Or like
I
on a
like a
sandwich.
little bit, maybe. Oh, I love it on a sandwich. Ooh,
Oh.
arugula.
I guess I would have to
Give me a
say my
little
favorite
pepper.
kind of lettuce is probably Italian wedding soup.
Interesting.
It's a delicious soup.
Let's move on to
What about watercress?
now
you know,
that-
that is the most nutrient rich.
Yeah,
green.
watercress is good. Yeah, sure.
I like that. I like a kind of a bitter green. Anyway, let's move on to letters now that we've talked about lettuce. This is from Leela, who writes
Leela's lettuce letter.
who writes, "Hey Peaches, last night I had a hankering for one of my favorite comfort movies, Big Eden, a sweet and tidy, inclusive, small-town rom-com that has served me well for over a decade. However, the second-to-last scene features a crime so heinous it almost ruins the movie for me every single time. Widow Thayer makes a batch of her famous cottage cheese and sour cream pancakes, and the main love interest, whom the viewer has also come to love dearly, takes a huge bite, and then, mouth wide open, he belly laughs for an absurdly long time as a sadistic cameraman slow zooms in on his mouthful of horrible, half-chewed, hot, soft cheese. It is an affront that language cannot convey. Do you have any movies that you love that are or are very nearly ruined by a single horrible choice? Love you guys, Leela." I don't know if you have any thoughts on this matter.
It's tough for me to talk about movies I love that I feel like have been ruined or almost ruined by
Well,
something.
I remember there was a movie, Stuart, that you thought would have been made much better if they hadn't made the choice to not have the character rip his ding dong off.
That's true. Almost ruined. I mean, I know Dan's favorite movie, The Kingsman, is almost ruined by a very weird anal sex joke right at the end.
I have to watch that movie to really confirm that exists because my mom loves that movie, and it's so hard for me to imagine.
I mean, like, I'm not going to argue for that scene or against that scene. I just find that the movie is so, like, wildly interested in, like, you know, sort of offending in, oh, cheeky, edgy way that, like, I understand why people knocked up against the scene, but I'm just like, I don't know. What were you expecting out of the Kingsman?
It's based on a Mark Miller comic, isn't it? Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Or what about, there's that movie Baby Driver that makes the mistake of casting Kevin Spacey in it.
And Ansel Elgort.
True.
They didn't know that those were mistakes at the time, but there's
I knew that
People have
Ansel
known about
Elgort
Kevin
was a mistake
Spacey
at
for
the
a long time.
Kevin, that's true. Kevin Spacey, they knew about for a long time. That's fair. I mean, I didn't know about it, but I don't travel in those circles. I think I might have talked about this before on the podcast. My favorite movie of all time, The Taken Pelham 1, 2, 3, that I love so much. It has the scene where Walter Matthau is showing around the Japanese visitors, and it's like, and it's supposed to be a scene where he's being rude and he gets his comeuppance, but it comes off as a racist scene. It just comes off as the movie kind of like having you in on the joke that Walter Matthau is making, and it's a very unpleasant moment and a very unpleasant scene, and it's one where it's my favorite movie of all time, but every time that scene comes up I like cringe, and then I wait for it to be over, and then I'm like, okay, let's get back to the New Yorkers yelling at each other, you know.
No, that reminds me.
I wish they had not, and it's not like it's not a necessary scene, so I wish they had not chosen to show Walter Matthau in that way, and the whole point is Walter Matthau's kind of a schlub and a loser, but I wish they had shown it in a different way. You know?
That reminds me that Audrey has a big poster of like a foreign poster for breakfast at Tiffany's that she doesn't want to put up because, like, you know, like she's an Asian woman herself, and
because it's just Mickey Rooney's character.
Well, that's like, and she loves the movie except for the part that everyone hates, which is Mickey Rooney's terrible Asian caricature. That is just like, why is this in this movie? not only is it racist, it is a completely different tone from the rest
And
of the film.
the poster is him captured perfectly by the brush of Drew Struzan.
Well, she just doesn't want to, like, I don't know. It's
Just
one of
the
these.
Struzan representativities.
Why did she get the poster?
I mean, she just loves the movie, like, other than that. But, like, she has that, and she has a poster for Annie Hall, and she, like, sometimes looks sadly at them and, like, can never hang these up.
I think when Woody Allen's not alive anymore, she'll be able to hang that Annie Hall poster up.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I don't have anything. I don't. I
okay.
can't. I mean, I was just trying to think of something that, like, I feel like I don't understand. I feel like Andrew Garfield is so silly. So I was trying to think of a movie that Andrew Garfield is in that would have been way better had he not been cast in it. But I avoid Andrew Garfield stuff
Wow.
because he's so
Oh,
silly.
I like Andrew Garfield. What do you think is so silly about him? His hair?
He's tall.
No, he's just like. Did you watch the? I know it's not a movie, but did you watch the Under the Banner of Heaven?
No,
Any of that?
my wife watched it, but I haven't watched it.
He was so silly. He was just like over the top and just like I was watching it and I was like, I can't believe this is a famous actor. This is bizarre. Yeah,
Wow.
he's just.
So I've liked him in a lot of. I remember I first saw him in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and I was like, I like this guy. And I haven't quite liked him as much since then, but I still like him.
This is funny to me that, like, this is such a specific vendetta that Hallie has. But it's, like, very Hallie because you're like, he's just too silly.
The whole time you're watching Hacksaw Ridge, you're like, come on, goofball.
I know, that's the thing. He's so over the top about moments that are supposed to, like, there's no subtlety. It's just like, wow.
They cast him as Spider-Man?
You're
I mean,
making
that
this
is-
Spider-Man silly.
That is the thing that is the winning thing about No Way Home is that he is so silly as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But even I guess you should see Tick Tick Boom and see if you think that silliness works for that very kind of like a melodramatic character.
But
or
I
not.
hate the idea of that movie.
Oh, okay, then you probably shouldn't see
He's
it.
very good in a bad
think-
movie.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's that bad a movie. I think it's it's a movie that is like hanging out with a bunch of musical theater people, where it's like
Yes.
you may not have any tolerance for it.
Yeah, that depends. Yeah.
It is a movie that succeeds amazingly well at creating the experience of being around musical theater
Well, that
people.
was
It's like,
like-
that Mike Birbiglia movie about improv.
We turned it on. Like, Audrey suggested that we watch it, and I was enjoying it okay. Like, I did, but she immediately was like, "Can we turn this off?" I'm like,
Yep.
oh, this is because I, like, was a theater kid, and she has no patience for the.
And there's that scene, the scene where it's like at brunch at the diner, and everyone in the diner is a famous musical theater person, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, you could just lift this scene right out of the movie. There's no like this. It's just the Easter egg. It's the musical theater equivalent of Pip the Troll and Star Fox showing up at the end of Eternals. You know.
Yes. Okay, we've got one more letter I want to get to. This is from Anthony, last name withheld, who writes,
My husband.
"Dear floppers,
Dear Hallie, this is the only way I can talk to you.
We're in trouble.
our kids are killing our community."
I this isn't how I wanted to tell you, but one of our kids killed the other kid, and I've been hiding it.
Oh, no. No, Anthony writes, "Dear floppers, the three of you and Hallie are suddenly turtles who are blessed with gifts of ninjutsu. Which
Okay,
one of
it's a
you
very original premise, but all right.
which one of you, quote, leads, who, quote, does machines, who is, quote, cool but rude, and which one of you is a, quote, party dude?"
I feel like this is not a difficult question, but maybe you guys should go first before I slot us into those ones. But I feel like it's fairly clear to me. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to get the Leonardo,
Yeah, you're the leader.
and
That means you
Elliot
get katanas,
gets
dude.
Donatello by default.
I do machines.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I feel like
But-
which one is me and which one is Stuart.
I
feel like
think
we're.
Hallie is cool but rude, and I think Stuart is the party dude.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
so there you go.
We
but the
nailed it.
ironic thing is, in this version of it,
Now you can
I'm
do your fan art, people.
but I'm probably the rudest member of the group, just in terms of interrupting and talking over other people.
Yes,
so
but
it should be like a rude Donatello.
The cool
which
part
is which. Don't look that up at our Urban
disqualifies
Dictionary.
Yeah, rude Donatello.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm cool. I'm totally not.
That's the problem. You're just grumping about how you can't watch modern movies anymore.
Ugh, too many of them about rich people.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it really is. I shouldn't put the blame on modern movies. I no longer have the time in my life to seek out things as much as I once did, and I'm not loving where mainstream filmmaking is at, which I don't think anyone is, because
Elliot's doing some low key marketing for Triangle of Sadness right now.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a new movie by the guy who made Force Majeure, and it's
okay.
You know, it's basically a send up. It's got Woody Harrelson in it. Send up of rich people. Yada yada. It's playing at the New York Film Festival, I think.
See, I don't know any of these things anymore. I used to know that kind of stuff. So now the only movies I hear about are the old movies or foreign movies that the algorithms that know I like that stuff send to me, or whatever movies are being advertised on buses, which is usually the biggest movie there. It's Uncharted, or something like that,
The bus is Uncharted?
it's
How do you know where it's going?
No, it's not a chartered bus is what I'm saying. It's an unchartered bus, yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, let's move on to the final segment.
Now I'm imagining a bus where on the front where it's supposed to say where it goes just says question mark, question mark, question mark. All right, I'll try my luck with this bus.
Yeah, it's like hitting the I feel lucky button on Google. Let's move on to the final segment where we recommend things that you can watch in addition to this, say, if this movie struck your fancy. Although
and
we
the
told
first
you all
Orphan
about
is off
it,
the table, right? I can't recommend the first Orphan movie
if
to
you want to, buddy. You can do whatever you want. Hey, it's 2022.
Oh yeah, it's my podcast.
Let me quickly recommend, because it's my recommendation is a good bad thing. It's called Creating Rem Lazar. That's clearly Rem Lazar is spelled REMLEZAR. I don't know how anyone can be confused, because we all know, of course, famous character Rem Lazar, who this is a 48-minute movie from 1989 that is just like a nutty artifact. It feels at any moment like it could become a horror movie. It could be a PSA for something. It has these two kids who both have an imaginary friend named Rem Lazar, and they realize, like, oh, if we both have the same imaginary friend, that means that must exist, right? And they build a mannequin and bring him to life, of course. And then there's a lot of songs about Rem Lazar, who, like, not since Cats has there been such a thing where it's like, we're gonna act like this word means something to you, whereas in Cats it's Jellicle. Here it's just like, we're gonna sing about this character but never make it clear what this character's deal is. Like, when Audrey was watching it with me, she was like, who's Rem Lazar? And I'm like, that guy's Rem Lazar. And she's be like, no, but what is he? Like, what's his deal? I'm like,
yeah.
He's just Rem Lazar, man. Like, that's all he is. And it's got all these great old 80s video effects and weird songs. And so if you like something dumb to watch and you don't want to commit to a whole 2-hour running time worth of dumb, then creating Rem Lazar is a good option.
I'm going to recommend 2 movies because I got to recommend a horror movie. That's right. So because it's Shocktober, I am recommending a movie called Glorious that is currently playing on Shudder. It's a shorty. I think it's like 80 minutes or something.
Keep talking.
It stars Ryan Quanten, the brother from True Blood with the abs. And he is stuck in a rest stop bathroom, and he is talking to a sentient evil glory hole voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Makes sense.
It's pretty wacky and pretty gross. It does have a twist at the end. I just got to warn you, I guess. There's a twist at the end that I think makes the movie less good. So I guess this also fits.
Question.
It also fits the other thing.
A
okay.
themed recommendation.
Yep. But the movie, my main recommendation, that's right, 2 recommendations with 4 people. What are we doing? I'm going to recommend The Woman King. Woman King.
Stuart has been texting us about The Woman King ever since he saw it. And sometimes it's just a text that says, Woman King.
Yep. So this is a movie playing in theaters. It is a historical action epic drama directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, who directed The Old Guard from a year or 2 ago that was great. It is in some ways it feels like a throwback to like the 90s era of historical action movies. Unfortunately, many of which starred Mel Gibson. But this one is very much from like a female gaze. All the women, of whom they are all awesome and badass, are like never portrayed in a way that's like, I don't know, like they're never shot in a way that's intentionally sexy. The sexy people, of course, are John Boyega, who is very pretty. And Viola Davis is fucking yoked. She looks amazing.
I don't know what that means.
It means that she is stacked. She's like,
I don't know.
Super
I think
rich.
stacked means something
okay.
different. I think
Muscles look
She's
like
muscly.
that.
She looks amazing. She's amazing.
muscly.
And Lashana Lynch gives a fucking amazing scene stealing, star making performance. She's great. She's been in a bunch of stuff, and this is the first time where she really got to like shine. At least first thing that I've seen, she's really gotten to shine. So Woman King, a lot of fun.
Nice.
Wouldn't it be funny if I recommended the movie Shine? I don't know why.
That'd be kind of funny, I guess.
Yeah,
would you like?
I mean,
sure,
Jeffrey
I get the
Rush is
joke. Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Would you like to go next, or should I go next, Allie?
I don't care.
I'll go next. Then. Having said that I was having trouble with modern movies, finding them, I did recently see a modern movie that I liked a lot. I finally got to see Passing, the Rebecca Hall movie starring Tessa Thompson and Ruth Neja, I don't know exactly how her name is pronounced, that's set in the 1920s in Harlem, and it's about a woman who finds that a woman that she grew up with is passing as white, has married a white husband, and her family does not know about it, and that her old friend starts kind of coming in and not taking over, but infiltrating more and more of her life as she finds the life that she missed, and I really liked it a lot. I think it looks beautiful, and I like what it does with sound. It's a very quiet movie that doesn't feel the need to have a lot of sound or a lot of music on screen. And I just thought it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. That's Passing. It's a sad movie, but a good movie. And you know what, guys? Sometimes a sad movie can be good for you.
Oh, okay.
Allie?
I want to recommend the movie Shine.
She called her shot.
No, just kidding. All I remember is there's a trampoline involved in Shine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's jumping up and down with just a trench coat on. And no clothes, right, on trampoline.
Okay, so
that's the movie where and then Bob Burton, the creator of Mystery Men, said, "I have my villain for the Mystery Men movie."
Look at his grace on that trampoline.
okay, so my recommendation is really a defense of a movie that's not that good, but I was shocked when I saw it because everything I've read about it said it was terrible, and it was just not terrible. It was just kind of okay, which is, but I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I have children, so I'm watching a lot of Studio Ghibli's movies, and I'd mentioned this to you, Elliot. Earwig and the Witch. Have you guys seen it?
No.
I haven't seen it yet.
I
no.
have heard the consensus though that this is like, a misfire from Ghibli or whatever.
Yeah, but it looks really different. And at first I was like, I don't like it because it looks different. But then I was like, but I like how it looks, even though it looks different. And it's got all kinds of spooky imagery. I don't know. I think
Like Coraline?
Gabriel might like
Okay,
it.
he does love spooky stuff.
Worms, lots of worms.
I
Okay.
love worms.
I love worms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have him here at the
I
house. We
think
got a
I'll
whole
go
tower
eat
full of them.
worms.
Uh-huh.
But that's a result of
I
some,
like the Floridian
Yeah,
death metal
that's-
band
some
Worm.
self-esteem issues.
I feel like that's more of a way of processing your isolation. Yeah.
There is a bit of a metal aspect to it, Stuart.
Oh, cool.
So you might like that.
In that the
something for
television you're
everyone.
watching it on has metal parts.
Oh,
That's a little bit of trivia about your television.
okay. My television's made out of flesh, and I insert the VHS tape through my tummy button.
The new flesh?
Yeah.
That's very new
Yeah,
flesh.
of course it's new flesh.
That's like in the Huey Lewis song. It was, I want a new flesh. So I can put a tape in my belly. Bam, bam.
And the little girl who stars or the main character in Earwig and the Witch is very naughty, and you're like, is she supposed to be bad? Are we supposed to not like her? But then you're rooting for her. You're on her side. So it's really different from, a lot of Miyazaki movies when there's like their little girls are like perfect and, just struggling with like wanting
except for
to
like Spirited
be
Away.
better at writing.
Or being in a
so
new
that-
house or something.
Yeah.
So it's a lot like Orphan First Kill that way, a naughty girl that you come to sympathize with.
Exactly.
Wow.
And her hair makes her look like an earwig.
Oh, cool.
Well, that's the start
And
of
is the title
Shocktober.
and is the title supposed to sound like Hedwig and the Angry Inch?
Yeah,
I don't
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's
think-
so that's 5 movies we recommended plus the first Orphan. That's 6 recommendations. That's a full weekend worth of flicks.
And Shine as well.
Watch
we,
it first.
we confirmed the existence of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he play the piano in it?
Yes, he's a
Yes.
famous pianist.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yes.
All
Yes.
coming back.
yeah.
Guess
He's
it
like
really
he's-
made an impression
it's-
on me.
he's-
Well,
he's
Vinci
Called
did
that
it.
because he shines while playing the piano.
yeah, like a vampire, like a modern day vampire in the light. Yeah, he dreams of he always wants to play the Rachmaninoff's Third Symphony, the Rock 3 they call it, over and over again. So
Why doesn't he just
I
do
use a
it?
I use a
very
Rock
hard.
3
It's really-
razor blade.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, let's
because it has 3 blades on the piano.
It's really heavy. It's really hard to shave. That's why Dan has a beard.
Well, I have to rub my face against the razor rather than the traditional method. It's very hard. Anyway, so that's the Flophouse. If you haven't heard it before, now you know.
Now you have.
Hallie's
One time.
not always here, but she frequently is, and we always like to see her, and so does the audience. Hey, Hallie, I don't know. You want to say anything else before we
Thanks
go?
for having me, guys. Great to see Elliot in person and Stuart and Dan on a computer.
And Hallie, do you have anything to promote?
Oh, no.
Sorry, I asked. Sorry.
You're a mom. That's what you're promoting, right? That and orphan
No,
awareness.
I wouldn't promote that.
You would warn people about it.
Amazing. Well, okay. For the Flophouse, thank you for listening. Go to maxfun.org, maximumfun.org even, for other podcasts.
If you wanted to go to the website, yeah.
You'll probably have more luck than the wrong address I originally said. And thank you to Howell Doughty, Alex Smith, Howell Doughty on Twitter, for our production and editing.
Do you want to tease, Dan, our upcoming appearance on Howell Doughty's Fast Track podcast?
Oh yeah. We I'm not sure when it's going to be released. Sometime in October because it's spooky season. We did a guest spot on Alex's show, Fast Track, and that's a show where we write a song in half an hour. We don't write the music. Alex writes the music because we don't know shit about that. But we write the words, the lyrics, and we did a sort of a novelty romance.
Yeah,
song.
it's kind of loosely
Horror.
inspired by one of my celebrity hall passes.
Yeah.
Easily top 3 celebrity hall passes.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a monster-related love story. Let's just say that. So we'll hear that soon.
Mm-hmm.
But now I will sign off. For the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliot Kalin.
And I'm Hallie Haglund.
Ooh.
So Dan, who are your top 3 celebrity? Who's your celebrity hall pass?
I'll take that answer off the air.
I was just telling Elliot there's a lot of projectile vomiting going on in my house.
Oh no.
Is that a spooky season? It's all like an Exorcist bit.
Yeah, we set it up and it's very dirty and smelly, but it's worth it. It's so scary. I don't know why. But I was picking my kid up the other day because he said he felt sick, and I was like, "Do we need to go to the bathroom?" And I picked him up, and he just vomited all over me, like it was like down my back, in my bra, and then I went to say, "Are you okay?" And I opened my mouth, and then he vomited again into my mouth.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned, audience supported.